We are jumping into a game I played at Adepticon versus Chewie 89. The game was recorded by the infamous podcast. Go check out their work linked below. Chewie is a fellow YouTuber and podcaster, and his work is also linked below. We also collaborated on a video on his channel, so go check that out after this video. Chewie has won the priority role, and we end up on Gamma and Skrulls at 20 threat. The deployment on Chewie's side, starting at the top, is Toad, Mystique, Magneto, Juggernaut, Beta Ray Bill. The deployment on my side, starting at the top, is Bullseye, Agent Venom, Nick Fury Sr. and the Howling Commandos, Crimson Dynamo, Nick Fury Jr., and the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Going into this game, I'm a bit concerned because magnetic refraction can put in a ton of work versus my list. All of my attacks are low quality, but I have a lot of them. His cover will likely take 1 damage off each of my attacks, and I plan to make double-digit attacks every turn. The upside is that S.H.I.E.L.D. is one of the best teams on Gamma, and one of the best teams at high threat. Chewie places his Magneto construct near the center of the board. Chewie plays Eyes on the Prize with Beta Ray Bill, and activates him. Bill walks up and due to the terrain ends up being just outside of 2 to grab the extract. He walks again and grabs the Skrull. Our extract is Skrulls Infiltrate World Leadership. Whenever you pick up a Skrull, you must roll dice equal to your physical defense. If you fail to roll a crit or wild, you are pushed short. He fails the Skrull check, and I push him away from my team. I activate Bullseye and walk him twice, and pick up the far Skrull, and pass my Skrull check. Chewie activates Juggernaut, walks up, he gets 2 power from Unstoppable Momentum, he uses Nothing Stops the Juggernaut to slide up, and destroys the Magneto construct. This triggers From the Ruins, Magneto's leadership. The construct is size 2, so he can give out 2 power. He gives a power to Juggernaut and Bill. Juggernaut picks up the Skrull and fails the Skrull check. I push Juggernaut toward my team. Chewie backs up with Juggernaut's remaining action. I activate Agent Venom. He walks up to Juggernaut and throws a grenade at him, dealing 1 damage and giving him the Incinerate condition. Chewie activates Toad and walks twice. He uses Toad's Prehensile Tongue to pick up the Skrull from range 2 and fails his Skrull check. I push Toad toward Juggernaut. I activate the Commandos. I walk up within 4 of Juggernaut and 2 of Crimson Dynamo. I shoot Juggernaut with my prototype weapons, dealing 2 damage. Chewie chooses not to reduce the damage with Juggernaut's Nice Punch superpower. The Commandos gain 1 power for the attack and immediately spend it to use Siblings in Arms. Siblings in Arms places Crimson Dynamo within 1 of the Commandos. Chewie plays Asteroid M. Asteroid M allows 2 Brotherhood models to pay 2 power each. You then place 1 of the models within range 1 of the other. Chewie places Magneto within 1 of Juggernaut. Chewie activates Magneto. Magneto attacks the Commandos with Reverse Polarity. Magneto is within range 2 of the Commandos, so he can reroll any of his dice. Magneto deals 1 damage. Magneto attacks the Commandos again, dealing 4 damage, dazing the Commandos. Chewie plays Magnetic Refraction. Magnetic Refraction gives every friendly model within 3 of Magneto cover, and if you are in Brotherhood, it comes back every turn. I activate Crimson Dynamo. I use his Electric Blast attack to lay down a range 4 beam. The beam catches Magneto, Toad, and Juggernaut. I attack Magneto first. Magneto uses Force Projection. Force Projection allows him to use his Mystic Defense on defense or dodge rolls, regardless of the attack type. Electric Blast deals 1 damage and shock. The next attack goes into Juggernaut. He uses Nice Punch to reduce the damage to 1 and takes shock. The last attack from the beam goes into Toad and does 0 damage. Crimson Dynamo lays down the same beam again and starts by attacking Magneto. He spends 4 Force Projection and blocks all the damage. I attack Juggernaut. He reduces the damage with Nice Punch and takes 2 damage. The last attack from the beam goes into Toad, dealing 1 damage and shock. Toad uses Slippery. Slippery lets Toad advance medium after he is damaged by an attack. He walks onto Chewie's back Gamma Shelter. Chewie passes. I activate Iron Man and play Sitrep on Nick Fury Jr. Sitrep costs 1 power and lets a S.H.I.E.L.D. character move a friendly model short. I move Fury Jr. toward the center fight. Iron Man walks up and shoots Juggernaut with his repulsors. I deal no damage, but I do hit the wild push, moving Juggernaut off the Gamma Shelter. Chewie activates Mystique. Mystique moves on to Chewie's Gamma shelter. I activate Nick Fury and the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents walk up and shoot Magneto. Magneto blocks it. I activate Fury Jr. and attack Magneto with the Fury Special, dealing 3 damage. I attack again and Magneto uses Force Projection. Magneto blocks it all. This ends the turn. Chewie is holding 3 Skrulls and I am holding 1. I have my Gamma shelter and he has his with no one on the center one. The score is 4-2 with Chewie leading. Magnetic Refraction returns to Chewie's hand. Our secure is Gamma Wave sweeps across Midwest. In the cleanup phase, each model not within 2 of a Gamma shelter will take 1 point of damage. In this case, that applies to Beta Ray Bill and Bullseye. Bill pays 1 power to use Corbonite Cybernetics to reduce the damage by 1. This was a great opening turn for me. I made 12 attacks and had pretty decent dice, giving me a huge jumpstart to my list's attrition plan. Chewie will have priority going into the next round, but I think I can mitigate the worst of it by spending my defensive tactics cards. Chewie places his Magneto construct. Chewie activates Magneto. He attacks the Commandos. I use Eye in the Sky on the Commandos. Eye in the Sky is a reactive team tactics card that allows a character to walk in response to being attacked. If they leave the attacker's range, the attack is cancelled, and the attacker will receive a new action. The Commandos walk out of range 2 of Magneto, but stay inside range 3. This turns off Magneto's ability to reroll his dice. Magneto rolls 1 less dice due to being shocked. Magneto deals 1 damage. Reverse Polarity pushes the Commandos into Agent Venom. Magneto throws the piece of size 2 terrain right above him at the Commandos. They take 1 damage. From the Ruins triggers, and Chewie gives 1 power to Magneto and 1 power to Juggernaut. Magneto attacks the Commandos again, and Crimson Dynamo uses Disruption Field. Disruption Field is a defensive superpower on Crimson Dynamo, which lets me reroll 2 of Chewie's attack dice. But the attacker has to be within range 3 of Dynamo when they make their attack. Magneto deals 1 damage to the Commandos. Chewie plays Magnetic Refraction. I activate the Commandos. They throw a grenade at Magneto, they deal 1 damage, and put Incinerate on Magneto. The Commandos then attack Magneto with The Show's Over, dealing 1 damage and dazing Magneto. They hit the Wild trigger to pour it on, but there are no enemies in range to attack. The Commandos use Siblings in Arms to place Iron Man in front of themselves. Chewie activates Toad and backs up slightly to the other side of the Gamma shelter. I activate Crimson Dynamo. I use his rocket boots to place him range 2 forward. Crimson Dynamo attacks with his Electric Blast, catching Toad, Mystique, and Juggernaut in the beam. Toad takes 2 damage and triggers Slippery. He walks just outside of range 4 of Dynamo. Mystique takes no damage. Juggernaut takes 2 damage and dazes. Juggernaut drops the Skrull he is holding, and I place it next to Crimson Dynamo. Dynamo takes another Electric Blast, but only catches Mystique this time. He does 3 damage. Dynamo picks up the Skrull and fails his Skrull check. Chewie pushes him off the Gamma shelter. Chewie passes. I activate Iron Man and walk to the middle Gamma shelter. I take a repulsor attack at Mystique. It deals 1 damage. Chewie activates Mystique and shoots Dynamo. Dynamo takes 1 damage and Mystique hits her rapid fire trigger, allowing her to attack again. Her second attack does no damage. Mystique uses her second action to back up behind the Gamma shelter. I activate Bullseye and double walk to the middle Gamma point. I'm careful to stay outside of range 3 from Mystique, so Bullseye doesn't get double tapped. Chewie activates Beta Ray Bill. Bill double walks towards Magneto. I activate Venom and attack Beta Ray Bill with Symbiote Firepower. Venom does 2 damage and Bill triggers Honor Bound. Honor Bound lets Bill advance short towards the enemy that attacked him whenever he takes damage. Bill walks onto the middle Gamma shelter. Agent Venom attacks Bill again, dealing 0 damage. I activate Nick Fury Jr. and the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents shoot Bill. Bill reduces the damage with Corbonite Cybernetics and takes 2 damage. They shoot Bill again. Bill reduces the damage again, and they deal 1 damage. Nick Fury Jr. walks up to within range of Bill and shoots him with the Fury Special. Fury dazes Bill. Bill drops his Skrull. Fury picks it up and fails the check. Chewie pushes Fury right next to Bill and Magneto. This ends the turn. Chewie is holding 1 Skrull, and I am holding 3. I have my Gamma Shelter and the middle one. Chewie has his Gamma Shelter. Score is now 6-7. I am leading. The Gamma Wave does 1 damage to Crimson Dynamo. Magnetic Refraction and Eye in the Sky return to our hands. This has been another really good attrition turn for me. With Magneto doing 3 damage and the rest of his team doing very little, killing Juggernaut before he activated was also quite nice. The cover for Magnetic Refraction is doing a lot of work, but nearly every one of my models is able to make 2 attacks this turn. I made another 12 attacks this turn. Chewie places Magneto's Construct. Chewie activates Magneto and throws his Construct into the Commandos. From the Ruins triggers, and Chewie gives power to Magneto and Bill. The Commandos dodge all of the damage. Magneto does a reverse polarity attack into the Howling Commandos, dealing 2 damage. The Commandos pay 1 power to use the S.H.I.E.L.D. leadership. Nick Fury Jr.'s leadership is the last line of defense. It has 2 modes. If you have less points than your opponent, and they daze or KO one of your models, you get 1 victory point. If you are winning, or have the same score, you can pay 1 power when you take damage from an attack to advance short toward the enemy that attacked you. Chewie pushes the Commandos into a piece of terrain behind the Gamma Shelter. I use last line of defense to advance behind the floating rock. Magneto throws the floating rock at the Commandos. The Commandos fail to dodge all the damage and are KO'd. Magneto makes his second attack into Nick Fury Jr. I play Eye in the Sky. Nick moves just out of range 2 from Magneto. Fury blocks all the damage, and Magneto pushes him away from the fight. Magneto plays Magnetic Refraction. I activate Agent Venom. I throw a grenade at Magneto, dealing 1 damage and incinerate. Venom attacks Magneto again, but with Clintar firepower this time. Magneto uses Force Projection to raise his defenses. Magneto blocks the attack. Chewie activates Juggernaut. Juggernaut walks up to the center Gamma Shelter and gains 2 power from Unstoppable Momentum. He uses Avatar of Sidorak to throw Bullseye back towards his team. Bullseye takes 1 damage from hitting the terrain. Juggernaut attacks with his strike. It has 3 extra dice from Unstoppable Momentum. Bullseye dazes. He drops his Skrull next to Juggernaut. Juggernaut plays Do You Know Who I Am, which allows him to throw Iron Man long. Juggernaut picks up the Skrull and fails his Skrull check. I push him off the Gamma Shelter. He uses Nothing Stops the Juggernaut to slide back onto the Gamma Shelter. He does it again to get onto his back Gamma Shelter. I activate Crimson Dynamo. I use his Electric Blast to beam Magneto and Beta Ray Bill. Magneto takes 1 damage and shock. Bill takes no damage and shock. Crimson Dynamo uses his Rocket Boots to move toward the Gamma Shelters. He does another Electric Blast onto Toad, Mystique, and Juggernaut. Toad takes 1 damage. Toad uses Slippery to move up next to Dynamo. Mystique takes 2 damage and dazes. Juggernaut uses Nice Punch to reduce damage and takes 2 and shock. Chewie activates Beta Ray Bill. He walks up to Fury. He uses his immeasurable strength to throw Fury away from the fight. He walks onto my Gamma Shelter. I activate Nick Fury Jr. and the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents shoot Magneto, and Magneto uses Force Projection. The attack bounces. They shoot him again. He blocks it again. Nick double walks back to my Gamma Shelter, but he is unable to get onto the point. Chewie activates Toad and double walks onto my Gamma Shelter. I activate Iron Man. Iron Man plays Helios Laser Bombardment. Helios lets every one of my characters contribute power to playing it. Helios is a 2-die energy attack that gets an extra die for every power paid into it. I pay 17 power into it from across my team, and Iron Man's first action is a 19 dice attack into Magneto. Magneto uses Force Projection. The Helios KOs Magneto. Iron Man walks back toward the Gamma Shelter, but is short of scoring it. This ends the turn. Chewie is holding 2 Skrulls. I am also holding 2 Skrulls. I have no Gamma Shelters, and Chewie has his shelter and my shelter. Score is 11-9. Chewie is leading. No one takes Gamma damage. Eye in the Sky comes back to my hand. This was a decent turn. I am continuing to pepper his squad with shots and slowly grind him off the table. Getting Magneto off the board was essential to having the coming turn go well. I need to keep an eye on the score here and make sure he doesn't steal the win from me. Chewie activates Beta Ray Bill and throws Agent Venom away from the fight. Bill attacks Fury with Stormbreaker. Fury takes 2 damage. Bill attacks Fury with Summon the Storm, dealing 3 damage and leaving him on 1 health. I activate Nick Fury and the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents shoot Toad, dealing 1 damage, dazing him. Toad drops his Skrull next to the agents. The agents shoot Bill and deal no damage. The grunts pick up the Skrull and fail their Skrull check. Chewie pushes them away from the point. Nick walks onto the Gamma Shelter and attacks Bill with lead from the front. The attack KOs Bill. Chewie activates Juggernaut, walks up to Bullseye and Dynamo. He gets 2 power from Unstoppable Momentum. He throws Dynamo onto the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, KOing them. Dynamo takes 1 damage. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents use Buy You Time to allow me to place the Skrull. I place it next to Dynamo. Last line of defense triggers, scoring me a victory point. The score is now 11-10. Juggernaut attacks Bullseye with 3 extra dice. I play Eye in the Sky to move Bullseye out of Juggernaut's attack range. Eye in the Sky cancels Juggernaut's attack. Eye in the Sky gives Juggernaut a new action. Juggernaut just walks back a bit. I activate Bullseye. Bullseye uses Hidden Run and attacks Juggernaut with a throwing knife. Juggernaut blocks it, but I hit the wild trigger and put bleed on him. With Hidden Run, Bullseye walks towards Crimson Dynamo. He then walks again over to the Skrull and picks it up. He fails his Skrull check and is pushed toward my table edge. Chewie passes. I activate Crimson Dynamo. He walks onto the middle Gamma Shelter and uses Electric Blast to beam Juggernaut and Mystique. Mystique takes 3 damage and shock. Juggernaut blocks it. Dynamo uses Rocket Boots to back up. Chewie passes. I activate Agent Venom. I walk him twice onto the center Gamma Shelter. Chewie activates Mystique. She just shuffles slightly and remains on the back point. I activate Iron Man and double walk onto Chewie's Gamma Shelter. This ends the turn. Chewie is holding 1 Skrull and I am holding 3. I have my Gamma Shelter, the middle one, and Chewie's Gamma Shelter because Iron Man is still healthy while Juggernaut and Mystique are both injured. Final score is 12-17. I was in the driver's seat for majority of this game. I think Chewie overextended Juggernaut turn 1, and when he realized that he was overextended, he tried to defend him by teleporting Magneto into my back lines. This was another major overextension because it allowed me to make so many attacks so early in the game. I just got off to a huge attrition lead, causing Chewie to scramble to try to play the Crisis. Beta Ray Bill sitting out half the game on the flank was also a big deal, allowing me to fight his 16 points with my 20. This video is a 3-way collaboration with Infamous, Chewie89, and myself. They each produced a version of this game. They are linked in the description below. Go check it out. And remember, fun is a finite resource.